Suge and Parker, okay?
I'm like, okay. And can you just name what your needs are for your reading?
Okay, so for my reading, what are my needs? I would like patience, as I said, if I am stumbling over a word. I also will read and reread things a few times until it kind of makes sense to me. I think that's really it right now. This is my first time reading out loud in a like a book club format versus just on by myself on IG Live. So um if you need me to go back, just say that and we can roll on back. And then if I feel like there's anything else as we go, I'll let you know because it's my first time. So yes, patience. Okay, cool. So are we starting at a note on method? Perfect.
I want to read every drop of every word that Saidiya has written in this book. So
Okay, perfect. I just want
for me.
to make sure. So a note on method is the very first piece of text after the table of contents.
And
Can y'all hear me okay?
Can you read like the whole title and everything?
Yes. Okay. Wayward Lives, Beautiful Experiments, Intimate Histories of Social Upheaval by Saidiya Hartman. She knew, in a queer, indefinite way, a disturbing factor. Nella Larson, Quicksand. And then table of contents. Book 1, she makes an errant path through the city. Book 2, the sexual geography of the Black Belt. Book 3, beautiful experiments. I also read fast, so if y'all need me to slow down, let me know too. A note on method. At the turn of the 20th century, young Black women were in open rebellion. They struggled to create autonomous and beautiful lives, to escape the new forms of servitude awaiting them, and to live as if they were free. This book recreates the radical imagination and wayward practices of these young women by describing the world through their eyes. It is a narrative written from nowhere, from the nowhere of the ghetto and the nowhere of utopia. Bitch. Let's read that again. It is a narrative written from nowhere, from the nowhere of the ghetto and the nowhere of utopia. Is that because Black girls aren't and Black women aren't locatable? Is that a word? Aren't easily located, and is that why they're considered nowhere? I thought. Okay.
Can we sit with that for a moment because I need a moment to just like, whoa.
Yes.
Are not locatable.
That's
what like
wow.
Intentionally. Like that is a construction of Black woman, of Black girlness, of Black queer and transness to be non-locatable. Because if you can find the map, then you can follow it.
Right. Wow.
And also the nowhere of utopia, like utopia is supposed to be this really beautiful thing for you. And to say the nowhere still even makes me think that even in beauty and beautiful circumstances, in the best circumstances, I'm still unlocated. Okay. Every historian of the multitude, the dispossessed, the subaltern, and the enslaved, is forced to grapple with the power and authority of the archive and the limits it sets on what can be known, whose perspective matters, and who is endowed with the gravity and authority of historical actor. In writing this account of the wayward, I have made use of a vast range of archival materials to represent the everyday experience and restless character of life in the city. I recreate the voices and use the words of these young women when possible and inhabit the intimate dimensions of their lives. This is that critical fabulation, y'all. The aim is to convey the sensory.
What critical fabulation is?
So, critical fabulation is a method that Hartman created that takes something like the archive, which is fact, and because a population or a group of folks like Black girls and Black women are so absent from the archive, she weaves things together that almost feels like fiction. So it is like critical fabulation is creative nonfiction, if you will. It's a making of things that are, as she says, are nowhere. So some of it is a little fabricated, but it's not fiction, if that makes sense. Or a little embellished, rather. So she says, I recreate the voices and use the words of these young women when possible and inhabit the intimate dimensions of their lives. The aim is to convey the sensory experience of the city and to capture the rich landscape of Black social life. To this end, I employ a mode of close narration, a style which places the voice of narrator and character in inseparable relation so that the vision, language, and rhythms of the wayward shape and arrange the text. The italicized phrases and lines are utterances from the chorus. The story is told from inside the circle. To this end, I employ a mode of close narration, a style which places the voice of narrator and character in inseparable relation so that the vision, language, and rhythms of the wayward shape and arrange the text. The italicized phrases and lines are utterances from the chorus. This story is told from inside the circle. All the characters and events found in this book are real, none are invented. What I know about the lives of these young women has been cold? Is that how you say that? Culled? Cold. Let me Google that. Parker is also my personal dictionary. Cold. Okay. Cold means to select or slaughter. Selectively slaughtered or picked. So all the characters and events found in this book are real, none are invented. What I know about the lives of these young women has been selected from the journals of rent collectors, surveys and monographs of sociologists, trial transcripts, slum photographs, reports of vice investigators, social works, and parole officers, interviews with psychiatrists and psychologists, and prison case files, all which represent them as a problem. Some of the names have been changed to protect confidentiality and as required by the use of state archives. I have created a counter-narrative liberated from the judgment and classification that subjected young Black women to surveillance, arrest, punishment, and confinement, and offer an account that attends to beautiful experiments to make living and arts, undertaken by those often described as promiscuous, reckless, wild, and wayward. The endeavor is to recover the insurgent ground of these lies, to exhume open rebellion from the case file, to untether waywardness, refusal, mutual aid, and free love from their identification as deviance, criminality, and pathology, to affirm free motherhood, reproductive choice, intimacy outside the institution of marriage, and queer and outlaw passions, and to illuminate the radical imagination and everyday anarchy of ordinary colored girls, which has not only been overlooked, but is nearly unimaginable. Wayward Lives elaborates, augments, transposes, and breaks open archival documents so they might yield a richer picture of the social upheaval that transformed Black social life in the 20th century. The goal is to understand and experience the world as these young women did, to learn from what they know. I prefer to think of this book as the fugitive text of the wayward, and it is marked by the errantry that it describes. Google that word. Errantry is the quality or condition of being a traveler, especially at night or in search of an adventure. So I prefer to think of this book as the fugitive text of the wayward, and it is marked by the errantry that it describes. In this spirit, I have pressed at the limits of the case file and the document, speculated about what might have happened, what might have been, imagined the things whispered in dark bedrooms, and amplified the moments of withholding, escape, and possibility, moments when the vision and dreams of the wayward seem impossible. So here I feel like she's talking about critical fabulation, right? She's saying that she's trying to make sense of things that literally aren't there, right? She's making sense of silences, reading in between lines of like criminality reports and things that are deeming folks as wayward, and seeing the beauty in that, and giving words to that and space for that. Few then or now. Oh,
Sorry,
go ahead.
what I'm also like feeling about this sentence, the in the spirit, is like, in this, she literally is naming right here, in this spirit. Because this first part of the sentence, I have pressed at the limits of the case file and the document, feels so very Black girl, like hood Black girl, like I'm gonna press you out, bitch. Like I'm gonna make sure I get every single drop of whatever this shit has for me. And that goes back to how she says, I employ a mode of close narration, a style which places the voice of the narrator and character in inseparable relation, so that the vision, language, and rhythms of the wayward shape and arrange the text. Like, she's really in praxis. She's like, not only am I looking at these wayward lives to build the most abundant narrative of them, but also like the only way I can really tap into that abundance is by tapping into the spirit of the wayward. And yeah, just to see that in this language feels like very special.
Yes, agreed.
I have a point from the paragraph before. It was like, colored girls have been overlooked, but it's nearly unmanageable, or nearly unmanageable. Yeah, that part is like something she's saying, like, listen, it's not imaginable to who that Black girls could come up with the theories that they do, and why. Of course, we know anti-Blackness, blah, 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 that's why it's not imaginable to them. But like, for her to say, like, listen, no, actually, the Black ghetto girls are the people that come up with all of this shit. And actually, at the end of the day, they're the ones. Like, all theory is a bastardization of what they have said. And you heard some white man overheard it in some way. He wrote it down, and then now this is the theory that you're trying to bring about. But it came from a dark Black girl first.
Some white man or some Black man.
That part. Ooh, the Black man. Ooh.
Who are the white people of Black people?
But also,
okay.
Oh, go ahead, Lemuel.
Oh, well, I was just going to say, we're going to get deep into the reading, but I think we all know, or maybe you don't know, so I'm going to spill a little bit of tea. W.B. Du Bois comes into this, and he's a sociologist, and he's hired by the white institution to go to the ghetto to report on the Black matters. And
to confirm a narrative.
Exactly, to confirm a narrative. And that gaze, where is he coming? What gaze does he have when he comes there? He has a white delusional gaze. So,
come on. Oh, sorry.
What all the things that he's reporting, all of that Blackness, all of that Black womanhood, all of that Black queerness is then ripped off.
I love that. I also think that being in the academy and how I'm positioned now doing Black girlhood work, I also see Black women and Black men taking up this idea of like, what does it mean to be hood or to have a hood politic? And they're not from the hood, never been to the hood, don't know the hood, when don't have no cousins in the hood, right? And so what does it mean to be like almost appropriating the hood or ratchet or ghetto politics? And how do we like fuck up what it actually means by trying to wear it? And I think in some ways it's an attempt to normalize, but because it feels as if you can take it on and take it off when it's convenient for you, it's very dangerous and harmful. So I see Black women doing that as well often, and something I've been calling folks out on is that, like, y'all are not from the hood. You're not a ratchetdemic. You're not really ratchet. Like, being Black is not inherently ratchet. That's the T. That's the T. So yeah, okay. My bad.
Sorry.
Niggas are doing.
I have
because my thing is, it's a whole praxis to being one who can name the hood as a location. It's a praxis to that. It's not something like, I mean, of course you can appropriate the aesthetic, but if you run up in a hood, in your hood aesthetic, in your hood language, and don't have praxis, bitch, you will be found out. The slip, okay, will be exposed very quickly that you are indeed not the hood. Yeah, and I mean, there was a whole moment, like maybe 2 or 3 years ago, where everything a Black person did, and it was typically middle class Black people, was trap everything. Trap the niggas was doing trap the vote. And I'm like, do y'all hear yourself? Do you understand what you're implying?
Right. And it's okay to like trap music. That doesn't make you a trap whatever. Like, that is a different it's okay to like the things. It's okay to, you know, like long nails and wear your hair in bright colors or whatever it is, you know, or listen to certain rappers, but that doesn't mean that you are from those areas, that you are about that life, right? So yeah, I think there are a lot of folks who do that. Not just W.E.B. Du Bois.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have 3 minutes, so
I think we can finish this section.
go for it.
Okay. In the spirit, I have pressed at the limits of the case file and the document, speculated about what might have been, imagined the things whispered in dark bedrooms, and amplified moments of withholding, escape, and possibility, moments when the vision and dreams of the wayward seem possible. Few, then or now, recognized young Black women as sexual modernists, free lovers, radicals, and anarchists, or realized that the flapper was a pale imitation of the ghetto girl. They have been credited with nothing. They remain surplus women of no significance, girls deemed unfit for history and destined to be minor figures. This book is informed by a different set of values and recognizes the revolutionary ideals that animated ordinary lives. It explores the utopian longings and the promise of a future world that resided in waywardness and the refusal to be governed. The album, assembled here, is an archive of the exorbitant, a dream book for existing otherwise. By attending to these lives, a very unexpected story of the 20th century emerges, one that offers an intimate chronicle of Black radicalism, an aesthetical and righteous history of colored girls and their experiments with freedom, a revolution before Gatsby. For the most part, the history and the potentiality of their life world has remained unthought because no one could conceive of young Black women as social visionaries and innovators in the world in which these acts took place. The decades between 1890 and 1935 were decisive in determining the course of Black futures. A revolution in a minor key unfolded in the city, and the young Black women were the vehicle. This upheaval or transformation of Black intimate life was the consequence of economic exclusion, material deprivation, racial enclosure, and social dispossession. Yet it, too, was fueled by the vision of a future world and what might be. The wild idea that animates this book is that young Black women were radical thinkers who tirelessly imagined other ways to live and never failed to consider how the world might be otherwise. Y'all, I didn't even know there was a cast of characters here. This is my first time reading Hartman at all, except for like little excerpts I read in class. But for one of my final projects, I'm writing an autoethnography slash ethnography, which is essentially taking all these recordings that I have from my family and in conversation with my family and using that as data to like explore larger concepts. And one of the ideas that I had is to turn it into like a play and with a cast of characters. And this bitch has a cast of characters.
I truly love this for us and for you. Damn, there was something that I was going to say. I forgot. We need to figure out a way to properly close this. So if anybody's like, here's a way to give us a little bit of closure, feel free to throw those out as we progress through the reading. Damn, what the fuck was I going to say? It doesn't matter. Thank you so much, Erin. Thank you so much, Nate. Thank you so much, Jeriel. Thank you so much, Neil. Thank you so much, Erin. Thank you so much, Janae. And Parker and Shug and any other pets or partners that
Yes.
invisible.
She said thank you for being here.
Yeah, I'm excited. I will see you all tomorrow, maybe, if you will be joining us, and maybe not. But yeah, I'll let you close out, Erin. It's here. Okay, feel free. I don't know.
Okay, my closeout will be what, before we meet again tomorrow, what from this intro will you be thinking about? It could be anything. It could be something that inspired you. Like for me, it's the cast of characters. I feel affirmed that I be knowing what the fuck I be talking about, and that there is space for me in this academy to write how I want to write, even if other folks don't see it. So I'm going to be sitting with that and processing that.
I am definitely thinking, you just reminded me of what I wanted to say. I'm really interested, I was telling Lemuel, in keeping an account of the wayward lives in my own life. So the people who would never actually make it to any historical record outside of, their record in the courts, outside of their records, in these very punitive spaces that, are intentionally punitive for specifically them. Anyway, yeah, I'm really interested in seeking out the wayward lives in my own sphere and making an account of them that centers on their waywardness and the abundance that it has for the world. I have to leave. I have a co-working date, y'all. But thank you all. And I'm gonna leave the room open if folks are hanging out.
Bye. Have a good rest of your day.
Bye. Thank you. You too.
Enjoy.